Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm just going to give it one more minute to let some final people join. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining today's webinar, where I'm going to talk to you about database cleanup within Workbooks. So my name is Casper, and for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a part of the support team here at Workbooks, and I'm joined by my colleague Milo, who will be monitoring the questions and will be on hand for any technical issues in the background. They may respond to you while I'm talking. So, as some of you may already be aware, we're currently running a series of webinars. So thank you to those of you who have attended previous sessions. I hope you were able to gain some useful tips or skills that have helped you so far. For those of you who may be joining for the first time, we're running this series of webinars every other Wednesday at 4 p.m. BST. So if you've missed any of these previous webinars, these can be found on our website. And here's a list of our upcoming and recently completed webinars. Alternative to these webinars, we do offer two monthly 2-day on-site training courses for both system admins and another for reporting, where we cover certain topics in a bit more depth to help build your skills and knowledge. If you'd like any further information about this, please reach out to your account manager and they can go through the details of booking the course. So with today's topic being database cleanup, this means we'll be focusing on what audit is and what you're able to delete. The agenda for this webinar consists of where you can find your storage usage and manage this data, the process of deleting audit records to clear storage, and relative frequency within this to understand what is creating the most audits within your database. And then alongside this, how to remove all currently deleted items. And I would like to note that this session is being recorded and will be sent to everyone after the webinar. So within Workbooks, you're able to track changes and user activity via audit. This can be reported on and will remain in your database unless deleted, or if you stop being licensed for the audit module. So you can see on the screen here that I've got an example audit record where the section name field has been changed to include a Z within own organization relationships. The audit module is a licensed extension to Workbooks, so if this is something that you'd be interested in, please do reach out to your account manager. So I think it's a bit easier to walk you through the UI within Workbooks and show you each of the available options for clearing up your database. I'll jump in now. Let me go from scratch. So from within Workbooks, if you go to Start and then Configuration, you're able to go into Database and Storage Usage. On this page, we're able to see a breakdown of where our database storage is being used. And within this demo database, audit is the highest. From this page, at the top of the screen, we are able to click and see a list of all of our databases, which just gives us a bit of a bird's eye view of where all of our storage is being taken up, what databases we have, whether they're available or have been archived after inactivity. So if I go to Clean Database at the top next to the database list, it will open up this new window, which does contain quite a few warnings. And this is just because any changes made here are unable to be undone. So you must be sure that you're happy permanently removing what you're selecting to delete. So the first option is to permanently remove items, which if I open up the Start menu again and go to the bottom, you can see that there's a deleted items section, which has a breakdown of each record type. Here, if you've deleted a record, within the last 30 days, you can come here within your database and restore it if it's been deleted accidentally or if you just need access to it again. Checking this box within the database cleanup section will remove all of these items permanently. So unless you've deleted quite a lot of records recently, this won't necessarily make a large impact to your storage amount. But if you've run a bulk action and cleared out a lot of old sales leads or person records that you no longer need, it might be worth doing this. And just going back to the configuration page, I would just like to note that at the top you can see how much storage is being used, but this storage calculation isn't live. This is calculated every few days, usually on a Friday, so it might take a little bit for any big storage changes to be reflected in this number. So if we go down to the audit record section of database cleanup, and if I just tick this to expose some more options, deleting audit on and before a certain date will default to today. So if I were to run this now, it would delete every single piece of audit within this database, which wouldn't be ideal. So if you want to clear back from a specific date, depending on your storage amount and your business needs, you might decide, oh, we no longer want audits from, well, which is older than 2 years. So you can just change that. This isn't able to be a scheduled action, so you would have to come in here perhaps at the end of each quarter or month, depending on the amount of audits that's being generated in your database. So then if I tick the next box to expose the next section, this is where relative frequency is displayed. Relative frequency works by displaying the most frequent type of audit at the top, and this will always have a relative frequency of 1000. Then everything else is given a number relative to that below. In the demo database, there isn't that much audit created via different API clients, but I will show an example within my slides after this demonstration. But a simple way to think of it is if, say, this mailing list refresh task had 100 audit records within my database, and then I had a case portal which only had 10 audit records, it would show this mailing list refresh task as a relative frequency of 1000, but then the case portal would end up saying 100 because relative to the 100 audit records of the mailing list refresh task, the case portal is just divided by 10. So this is just a tool to help identify the split of audit across your database and helps you select which audit you would like to remove. It might be, oh, we no longer need this audit for mailing list refresh tasks, so we can just get rid of that, especially as it is the top of the list. So then the final checkbox on this page is to remove usage statistics. And if I were to go to start auditing, you can see that there are quite a lot of audit lines for where users, like myself, or automation have logged into the database. This counts as a usage statistic as it's user activity going into the database. It is worth noting that checking that checkbox within database cleanup would remove usage information for all users, not just specific ones. So if you're running any reports looking at when your users are logging in or how frequently, that would clear that information. but those are the options for deleting audit. So if I go back into my presentation, here's a better example of relative frequency. So I've just put together this table to show different API clients where you can see a few different examples which would generate audits. You can see that our marketing automation tool has created 500 audit records, but because that has the most amount of audit records out of everything, it has the relative frequency of 1,000. Then email to case has 250. So relative to the amount of marketing automation audit records, that's half, so it displays as 500, and so on with the others. So actually, I think it's worth showing just where you can access audits on specific records. I know it's not necessarily related to database cleanup, but if I were to go and open a person record and go to the cog and record information, there would be an audit button here, which would then allow you to go in and see all of the changes made, which users have made it, and when those changes were made. Cool. So just to recap what we've covered today, we've looked at where you can find your storage information and how you're able to remove all deleted records permanently, explored how deleting audit based on creation dates, covered what relative frequency is and how it highlights the most frequent type of audits, and let's see if there are any questions. There aren't any at the moment, so I'll just give it a minute. Okay. Oh, here we've had a couple coming in. So Gordon has said that unknown is my 1000 for relative frequency. So you might see that within your unknown, within your relative frequency table, there might be a row for unknown audits. This tends to consist of sort of background tasks and things that aren't necessarily within your regular processes which have been identified by Workbooks. As the ones within my table that I just displayed, it was stuff like the case portal or a marketing automation tool, so something like Spotler or Force24. This is all recognized and known by Workbooks. So if it's a custom process or something outside of that, it might be classed as unknown. But if you're wanting a bit more insight into that, please do raise a case with us at support, and we'll be able to look at it in a bit more detail with our engineering team. So we have another question here from Deborah, who asks, how can I find my oldest audit records? So I think it's best if I go back into Workbooks quickly. And so I showed that by going into Start and then Auditing, you're able to get to this landing page. You are able to then sort this and sort by date in this page and identify specific records. You are also able to filter on this to determine what record type. So you might say, what's the oldest um, update in my database, stuff like that. Audit can also be reported on if you're looking to have some calculated columns to work out quite specific things. It's really up to you. It's just like any other record, really. So Hanan asks, what about Action Web Insights Sync? I'm guessing that you're referring to within the relative frequency table and it being listed within there. That will, yes, that will be the fact that Web Insights will have generated online activities for you and, well, or sales leads even, and there will be audit of that. So whenever Web Insights makes a change to those online activities or creates them, there will be audit within that change for both create and update. And that just appears within the relative frequency table because that is a change made via the API. Hanan also asks, is it safe to delete? That really depends on if you're doing anything with this information. If you'd like the audit from Web Insights and the online activities it's making or any changes that it's making, then I would say to keep that information. But if you're not needing that and you've been able to look through the audit, I would always recommend looking through the audit via the audit landing page or in a report to try and identify what it would actually be deleting. And if you're happy with that, then you're able to clear that from the database. But again, anything deleted within the database cleanup page, this cannot be undone. So be sure of this. And if you have any questions or concerns, please do reach out to us at support. Okay, if there are no further questions, our next webinar is on setting up the case portal, and this will be on July 29th at 4 p.m. BST. Until then, if you do need any help, you can check out our knowledge base at workbooks.com/help. For support contacts, you can get a hold of the support team via the case portal. You can find the portal via the help icon within your start menu. This looks like a question mark and should be next to the preferences button. And finally, we do have videos on our website on the following topics: end user training, reporting, importing, and system administration. You will also be able to find the recording for this webinar along with our past ones via the link on the screen and selecting webinar recordings. And that's everything for this session. Thank you for attending, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.